catch in the ordinary hard disk drive. It can be found in the swap space. So sometimes swap spaces are found in a special partition. They're not really put in the partition that's being used by the computer for the most part, but it doesn't matter. Once you found the RAM in the swap space, you can use it. Once the RAM was put into swap space, it can be used. Another unexpected place where people don't expect that their files are, but they really are, and you can find the data with it, and the forensic computer expert is going to be looking for these things, are what they call temporary work files. So it often happens that you're working with your application. Let's say you're working in Microsoft Excel, and and you're working, but you forget to save your work, and suddenly there's a blackout in there or whatever happens, and then the computer gets shut off, and you lose, and it's completely lost. Well, it's not always completely lost, because the computer knows, or the application knows, that sometimes this happens. So every so often, every, let's say, 5 minutes, you can actually tell it very often how often to save it, to save it without your knowing. Let's say every 5 minutes, it'll save the work you've done. So even if something strange happens and everything breaks and your file is lost, it still has that 5 minutes ago's saved file. So a person doesn't know this, but the files they're working on can actually be saved without them knowing. So sometimes the suspect, they work on a file and they don't save it because they don't want to save it. But if you catch the whatever it is, the computer at the right time, you can actually find these temporary work files where the program was saved, even though the suspect did not actually save it. And again, it's a useful source of evidence for what's happening. Any illegal activities, can be found. Some illegal activities can be found there, or at least information on these illegal activities can be found there. Also, when a document is printed, it's sent to a spool before it gets to the printer. This, enables the computer printer to work in the background. So the printer can, it got the information to print. It might take, let's say, 3-4 minutes to print. But if you want to close the program that told it to print, you can do that. The printer still got its information in this spool. So that's what that is information on the file, like let's say a Word file. That is information that if you can get that, then even if the person, the criminal who used the computer, deleted the file, you still can catch it in the spool if you know where to look. So we're not really going to go into exactly how to do all these things. That's the job of the computer forensic expert. It's a field unto itself. So we're not really going to go into. We're just going to explain how, in general idea, how it's done. I mean, they use their own applications to identify and locate all these places and put things together. We're not going to demonstrate how that's done, but just show you, give you an idea of what gets done by these other people, by these forensic computer experts. There's also something called latent data. This is data that's hidden. That if you, the average person, they open up the Windows Explorer, they're not going to find these files. They might be deleted files. I mean, they're not going to show that. Hidden files. Sometimes the person deliberately wants to hide them. Now, there's probably some way to tell let's say the Windows Explorer to find the hidden files, but again, for the standard user, it's not found. But the forensic expert has got to be looking for these things. There are files that are put in swap space. They never show you that. No one's really interested in that, except unless you really need that data, and a computer forensic expert will be looking. That will know where to look for it. So that's, again, it's data. It's hidden, but it's there. Files that are in what they call slack space. We can deal with that soon. And this, by the way, is how they caught Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, bind, torture, kill, at least 10 people. He was a serial killer. The idea was, the story was that he, in his arrogance, that nobody can catch him, he developed some kind of relationship with one of the police people at the local police force or something, and He said, "Yeah, I can tell you, brag a lot more about my stuff. I can tell you a lot more about it. But tell me, I'm not gonna. I don't want to get caught. If I send you a disk where I deleted the files, do you think can you catch me?" So the guy answered, "No. If you delete it, how am I supposed to catch you? The information is gone." This wasn't true. Uh, he knew, or he asked the computer experts if deleted files can be retrieved, and they said yes, it can. So this Dennis Rader sent him a file bragging about certain things, and in the latent data, in the deleted data, they actually found enough information to catch him. They found that he was working in a church or something like that, and they found the name of the church. And they were able to piece together where he was, and that's how they caught him. The idea is that the criminals often don't know that this data is there. That's how they can be caught. That's how we can find evidence that will convict them. So we have to understand the file system, where these things can be. The file is saved to hard disk drive, and it's organized in sectors, as mentioned. And a group of sectors is called a cluster. Like a file needs more than one sector, it'll be in a group of sectors, a cluster. The clusters have a multiple of 2 for whatever reason. You have 2, 4, or 6 sectors. You can't have one that has 3. Again, this is just the way the computer is made. We're not going to discuss why. Let's just accept this as a fact. Remember, the files that are deleted don't go anywhere. They're just now available memory, so the computer says, okay, I have more memory available to overwrite. But if they're not overwritten, they can be recovered, and the key is to finding where these deleted files are. Now, if a person rearranges the files on their disk, we have to understand what to do about that. So let's take a look at this. It's organized in clusters, and they each have at least 2 sectors, and the sector has at least 512 kilobytes of space. That's the way computers are designed. Now, in the future, it's likely that these things are going to be more advanced. Maybe they'll have more memory, but at this time, this is the way it's organized, and this is the way the forensic computer experts work with it. Let's just start with this. Let's say a cluster having 2 sectors, just make things simple with 512 kilobytes. You put a file on it, and there's all kinds of who knows what. Again, nothing on it, but I can't say nothing. Unwritten stuff on it. The person writes a file. It's in one sector. If you can put one file in one sector, it'll be saved right there. So what that is called used space. That is space that the computer will not overwrite and will be able to obtain, to read. But the rest of it is called slack space. Now, what's in there? Well, we don't know. This we know, the person wrote something there. But what's in the slack space? We know it has to be. It has to exist. We have to have something in there. But what is it? That's what this unwritten or available memory to the computer, something that the computer can overwrite at any time, is in that what they call the slack space. The spot that the computer cannot overwrite, it will not overwrite until you tell it to, is in what they call the used space. So here's what happens in the case where files are moved around or the sectors are moved around in a defragmentation situation. First, the person, let's say in the sector, they put all their files in there. Okay, they put all the files in all the 3 different clusters. But files get deleted, so you can find in the cluster, you can find a deleted file here, and let's say here, and here, and here, and here, in all these clusters. So these are the deleted files. The computer can overwrite them, but they're all over the place. But they are you can call them slack space if you want.